working man in sports and gaming, and we are here to talk about the Chicago Bulls' first victory of the season. Yes, it has finally happened. So we're going to kind of go over what happened, what we saw in tonight's game. 115 to 107 victory for the Bulls over the Washington Wizards. They will be running it back with the Wizards shortly. I don't know if it's tomorrow. I got to check and see. I'm not even sure if it's tomorrow or when it is. Have to check the schedule. But of course, I will be checking it out. But I'm gonna go ahead and go up with this right now. Let's see. Put this on Twitter so that people can jump in. Um, all right, we're there on that end. Got one more thing left to do. So as you come into the chat, say what's up. I appreciate everybody coming through who was going to make it in today. Hope everybody had a safe holiday, and hope everybody is doing well today. And if you had to go back to work today, hope that went good for you. If you still out of school, enjoy it, the whole nine. You understand. All right, so a couple things that I wanted to go over about the Bulls, and then of course I'll go in and check out the chat and see what you guys are saying and asking and talking about today. But a couple things that I wanted to go over. Uh, Wendell Carter Jr. I think is just continuing to play well in the last two games. I was super down on Wendell after the first two games of the season. Very much worried with his approach, his sense, his focus, what he essentially was trying to do offensively, what he wasn't doing defensively, all of that. Pro Dubs 20, I appreciate you. Spidey Cat as well, I appreciate you being in. I was just very, very down on the way it just his old, like I said, his overall approach. But he has gotten back to what essentially had him looking like a promising young big, and the conditioning work that he did on his body to get stronger and to even get maybe perhaps a little quicker. We're starting to see that now, but we weren't seeing it early because if he was so preoccupied with trying to establish himself as a jump shot shooter. And I'm not one of those people who are just screaming, Big should be in the hole, get in the hole. That's kind of what Kendall Gill said, but he did kind of backtrack on that statement a little bit, like after the game. I think it was at halftime. But before the game, he was like, get down under the basket where Big should be. I don't 100% believe that. It's all about skill set, right? And from a skill set standpoint, Wendell has yet to prove that that's a major aspect of his game. When and if he ever proves that, then the narrative changes. But while you're trying to continually fire threes and you're not making them, not converting, you're not turning these into positive trips up the floor, then you absolutely you do need to get back under the basket where you can be more effective. But to his credit, he's done that. Screen and roll game has been really strong. He's been really good on the little mid-range shots that he gets when he can't get all the way to the basket on the screen and roll, and just the floaters in the lane when he can't get there till for a dunk. I've been just very impressed with the way he's played in that sense. Um, I'm going to tell you somebody that I'm not all that impressed with, even though he didn't have a horrible statistical game today. And you know what? But let me backtrack because I'm going to address something. I tweeted something before the game, and I should have started off with this, just to be honest. I tweeted something before the game, and I talked about what I felt like were the Bulls' keys to victory. And I'm going to see if I can pull this up on the screen so that I can share with you guys kind of what I was talking about, and we can kind of look and see that it actually ended up kind of, what I felt like the Bulls needed to make sure they focused on turned out to be something that it kind of was. I don't want to say the 100% key of the game, but absolutely turned out to be a big part of what was going on. So I tweeted this out and also put this on Heavy on Bulls on Facebook. So if you don't like the Facebook page yet, please make sure you go to Facebook Heavy on Bulls. All of my Bulls coverage for the most part is there, as well as my colleague Trevor Squire. We cover the Bulls there for Heavy. Also, if you haven't yet liked this video, please do that as well. It is really important to me trying to grow this channel. But my 3 keys to victory were the Wizards have to have 0 35-point quarters. And when I say have to, I kind of preface this by saying that, or I kind of came after the statement saying that I felt like the Bulls at least had to do 2 of these 3 things, right? So 0 35-point quarters. Through the first 3 games of the season, the Bulls had every last one of their opponents had at least one 35-point quarter, at least. Now, the Wizards almost put one together in the 4th quarter to try to cement a comeback because they closed this down a little bit further. They had 34 points in the final quarter. But if you saw through the first 3 quarters, which is more of when the Bulls hadn't wrapped the game up in the 4th quarter, but they had controlled the game essentially through 3 quarters. They went into, they started the 4th quarter up by 9. So, well, was it up by 9? Let's see, up by, they were up by 10, I'm sorry. They were up by 10 going into the 4th quarter. And they had the control of the game. Washington tried to get a little bit of a run at the end, and that's how they ended up running it into 34 points. But overall, the Bulls kept them under control from a defensive standpoint, and they did get some breaks because Washington just didn't shoot the ball very well tonight at all. And I won't take the Bulls defense. I won't take credit away from them completely because they did definitely defend better than they did in the first 2 games and much more on par with the way they tried to defend against Golden State. As a matter of fact, I would say even better. I felt they closed out on shooters a little bit better, but Washington just couldn't make a shot tonight, especially from 3. They were 10 for 37 from 3-point range, 27% from there, 44% from the field. Raul Neto was dreadful. I mean, 1 for 7 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3. Some of those shots were open looks. He just couldn't knock them down. Bradley Beal had an uncharacteristically horrible night shooting, 1 for 5 from 3. Russell Westbrook was 1 for 4 for 3, which is kind of what you expect from him. The 1-3 he hit was at the height of the Wizards' run in that 4th quarter. I was impressed with Denny Avdija, 3 for 5 from 3. He had one of the better floor games, with the exception of Westbrook, of anybody on for Washington. But the Bulls did hit on that first point of mine, which was make sure that the Wizards don't have a 35-point quarter. Those humongous scoring quarters from teams have kind of really hurt the Bulls this season. The other thing was I said the Bulls needed to have fewer than 20 turnovers. That Bulls were leading the league in turnovers, 19.6. You could round it up to 19.7, but it was 19.66 turnovers a game coming into this game. They only had 14 turnovers in this game, and honestly, they got sloppy in the 4th quarter because they had 7, I believe, through the 3rd quarter. So they dropped that turnover total down to 14. Zach, who turned the ball over 7 times in the loss to the Warriors, only had 3 turnovers tonight. Kobe White only had 2 turnovers. He could have had a few more with some of those wild, aimless drives that he has into the lane. Sometimes Kobe will get going on one of those drives, and he won't turn it over, but the Bulls just get an absolutely fruitless trip up the floor. And he did that a couple times. He actually ended up throwing in a pretty decently sized bucket in the 4th quarter on one of those situations, but he was so out of control. He has to cut down on those out of control drives to the basket. Too often he comes up the floor and it looks like he doesn't really have a plan. He doesn't have a plan for his own shot. He doesn't have a plan for the Bulls offense. He's just running and hoping something happens in the process. And they got to cut down on some of that stuff for sure. And I think Kobe's more guilty of that. But overall, the Bulls took care of the ball much better. Only 14 turnovers, which is 5.7 under their average coming into the game. And then the last one was the Bulls need to surrender fewer than 40 points in the paint. Now I got to go take a look at this. I know that they did much better in the paint today, and they did exactly that. The Wizards only had 32 points in the paint. So the Bulls hit on all three of the points that I had for them to win this game. And so, with no surprise, they did come out with the victory 115 to 107. Now, I'm going to go back to kind of looking at the players themselves and how they played today. Lauri Markkanen went down with some sort of an injury, which is like, I think everybody's just about tired of saying that over and over again. Um, I don't know what's the deal with this guy in terms of staying healthy. He simply cannot. So he went down with an injury. We didn't see him for an extended period down the stretch of the game. He did not play in the fourth quarter, I don't believe at all. He was on the sidelines with his mask. Um, I don't know what was going on. Billy Donovan, I'm looking on Twitter now. Billy Donovan did confirm that Markkanen re-aggravated a calf injury late in the first half. He tried to go in the third quarter and just kind of was like, no, I can't go. I'm going to think better of it. Obviously, part of that is like a business decision for Lowry. Lowry is in a contract year. The Bulls did not sign him to an extension, so he's going to be a restricted free agent. If he does allow himself to get injured this year, if he gets injured and it becomes a more serious injury, he's obviously impacting himself from a financial standpoint. So him probably choosing not to go in the third quarter is a business decision for him. He was playing well. Honestly, I felt like he was having his best game when he went out. He was getting some very favorable matchups against Davis Bertans. Bertans is one of the few bigs, I would say, in the league that Laurie has like a physical advantage over, because Bertans is not quicker than Laurie. So, but usually if Laurie has a step on a big, they usually can overpower him, where that's not Davis Bertans' strong suit either. So we got a rare opportunity to see Laurie overpower a guy anytime he took the ball to the basket. So he was having good success there. But then of course he re-aggravated the injury. I don't know when it happened, but Laurie's overall softness, man, is something that I am very worried about overall. He is looking more and more like, I use this term a lot. Anybody who's had like conversations with me about, about basketball and to any extent have probably heard me use this term, but I believe he's a trap player. He is the kind of guy who you look at and you say, wow, man, this guy is really talented. He's got this going for himself. He's got this going for himself. He's this guy. He's that guy. But when you look at what he actually produces, then and how often he impacts the win-loss column, and when you look at him not staying healthy, then at that point you're looking like, well, I don't know, maybe is he, because you get so caught up in the potential of Lauri Markkanen. You get so caught up thinking about, oh, well, this is what he could be, and you don't do enough looking at, okay, at this point in the game, this is who he is, and at this point in who he is this really enough for how much at this point we're gonna have to pay him to maintain his services? So I don't know if this is if he's the kind of guy that you look at and you say, hey, well, you know what, we're going to we're gonna cinch any type of wagons to Lauri Markkanen. We're gonna look at Lauri Markkanen as a building block moving forward. I know that's what we all want. That's because, obviously he was the centerpiece, one of the main pieces in the trade that sent Jimmy away, and everybody wants, obviously, for the Bulls to do well, with that trade. They want us to, we all want to win this trade and win it definitively. First of all, Jimmy's not even with Minnesota anymore, but we still want to look back at this and say the Bulls got the better of this trade. And I think it's very important. Now, obviously, Zach Levine has turned into a nice player, but it's very important for Lauri to be a good player as well for the Bulls, and for those two guys to play an instrumental role in the Bulls getting back to a place where they are contending and they are a playoff team again. That we haven't had. That we don't have right now. And Laurie, I think, is a big part of that. But if he's not healthy, it doesn't matter. Let's talk about Pat Williams. I thought Pat Williams plays a steady game. And I saw a guy who I really do respect on Twitter, C. Red Fred, talking about the Bulls. And I responded to this on Twitter, saying that the Bulls need to move Laurie Markkinen. I'm sorry, they need to move Otto Porter to the starting to the starting unit. I couldn't disagree with that anymore. Otto Porter is playing fantastic off of the bench. Keeping his minutes down helped to keep him healthy. And also, Pat Williams playing those starter minutes actually is only helping his development. He's not doing anything at this point that is causing the Bulls any real difficulty. This is not a playoff team right now. It's not. And chances are it's probably not going to be. I have to walk back my prediction about this team because I've seen how much development they still have to go through. Now, they have gotten better. Literally, I believe they've played better every single game. The Hawks game was an absolute disaster. The Pacers game was still a disaster, but slightly less of a disaster. The Warriors game was a strong effort that I don't know if you guys saw. The last 2-minute report said that the Warriors should have got a 5-second violation on that inbound play that led to the game winner. But the Bulls still could have handled things better to keep it out of those sort of situations. But this was, a better effort. And obviously, in the Wizards game tonight, you get the victory. It's a better effort overall. So they are getting better, but are they getting better to the point where by the end of this season, we're 4 games in, 68 games left. Are we looking at, this team being a playoff team as it stands? So I don't know. I don't know if we can confirm that or anything like that. I honestly, I can't say that that's where we are. So because of that, you cannot put trying to say, oh, well, we need to have an Otto Porter in the starting lineup. And then now you're sitting Patrick Williams, which may stagnate his development. I just don't think that's a smart move at all. So I'm hoping that's not anything that happens. I would doubt strongly that happens just based off of the way Patrick Williams has been performing. If you are a rookie in the NBA and you want to stay in the lineup, the best way to do it is to defend, to rebound, and to make smart plays with the ball. Whether or not you're successful as a scorer probably ranks low on whether or not you're going to stay in a game as a rookie or stay and continue to get good minutes. The scoring at this point for him, being a 19-year-old, just turned 19 in August, the scoring for him is a bonus at this point. Right now, what the Bulls want from him is solid effort, playing defense, rebounding, handling the ball decently, and making decent decisions with the ball. Obviously, yes, he's going to make some mistakes. He's a kid. But that, what you look for from a rookie, Patrick Williams is doing that in spades. So I don't see any reason why you would take him out of the starting lineup. And I don't even see any reason why anybody would want that to happen if you're looking at for the betterment of this team moving forward. So I was still pleased with him. He had 12 points, a rebound, 2 assists, knocked down 2 or 3 three-point attempts. Thought he played well. Thought he played really well on defense as well, which is kind of what I'm coming to expect of him. I thought Zach Levine was much smarter with the ball tonight than he was against Golden State. Against Golden State in the second half, Zach got hot and started throwing up some shots. I tweeted about this earlier. Man, Zach Levine's shot selection is the most troubling aspect of his game to me. This guy can literally get any shot just about that he wants every time he touches the ball. He's that gifted athletically. He's that good of a ball handler. He has all of these shots in his bag. His problem is he wants to go deeper in the bag than what the situation requires far too often. So there's a situation where you might have a guy guarding you who just flat can't guard you from a pure speed standpoint. Zach can rock left, come back right, hard one time, drive straight, hard, strong hand, and he's either going to get to the basket for a finish, going to draw a big man over so he can drop the ball off, or he's going to get to the foul line. One of those three things is going to happen a lot of times when he gets a certain type of matchup. But Zach will get the ball and he'll turn it into a 4 or 5 move possession that ends in some sort of step back three that is totally unnecessary for the situation. And he does this at times when the Bulls really need a bucket and they're right to put it in his hands because he's the best player, he's the best scorer. But instead of going with his fastball, with his number one pitch, he goes, I'm gonna try to do something really crazy and I'm gonna throw a screwball. It's just bad decisions sometimes. And he does this sometimes at some really tough times. I understand the heat check moments in the second quarter, third quarter, first quarter. You've hit 3 or 4 shots in a row, and now you're just going to pull up with a quick one, bang, because I'm feeling it. I get that. But there are times in key points of the game when the Bulls really need a bucket and you need to go to a high percentage sort of a look, and Zach is step back. And it's like that. You didn't even try to get to the basket yet. You didn't read the defense and say, I see that this guy's going to help. You make it very easy for the defense. And I tweeted this, I think, or I wrote this today. One of the worst things about that is that too often he'll make one of those shots. And to a great talent, especially a still very young one like Zach Levine, that's worse than missing the shots. And the reason why I say that that's worse than missing the shots is because for him, that's enough encouragement for him to continue to take those shots. I made that one. I averaged 25 a game. So he doesn't essentially learn a clear lesson unless somebody's able to get in his ear and get him to understand that, Zach, these are bad shots for winning. For winning, these are bad shots. And if you look at throughout your career, yes, you've had some not ideal situations playing in Minnesota, playing in Chicago, playing for some bad coaches here and there. You've had some of those things, but your talent level requires you to step it up, not just athletically, but here. And that's where we're still waiting for him to make the turn. And like I said, tonight, I felt he played smarter. Didn't take as many bad shots. He had a couple, but they weren't like those kind of backbreaker ones that you just go, oh my God. He was way more active defensively than he has been most of his career. I will give him credit this year. He's played great from a effort standpoint on defense. Effort has been there. Nobody can really say that he's not trying on defense. There was a loose ball situation today that I tweeted about. The ball was rolling, and even though it didn't look like Zach maybe could have gotten there, I thought that him running after the ball in this situation could have created another scramble situation where the Bulls could have ended up getting the ball in transition, but he just kind of gave up and let Raul Neto get to the ball. It turns out that the officials had screwed up something with the clock, so Wizards ended up turning it over on a 24-second violation anyway. But that particular aspect of the game I felt was a little bit of a lapse in effort, but you'll take that from your number one scorer at times. At times. You look the other way at times, right, with that sort of thing. But he had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals. Very active hands and arms in the passing lane. One particular play, Bradley Beal was driving to the basket, and it was a switch, and Zach anticipated where the pass was going, got into the passing lanes, boom, got a deflection, the Bulls going the other way. Those kinds of plays don't get a lot of attention, and they probably aren't going to show up or get called out in a highlight reel, but those are winning defensive plays. And I definitely want to give out credit for that because those are winning defensive plays that you have to make. And other players on your team, especially when you're the best player on the squad, like Levine, they see that, and that inspires their effort. Kobe White, like I said, was out of control, but he did have, statistically, it wasn't a horrible game. 18 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. But this is why you cannot, people, and I'm really talking to the young fans here. This is why you can't just look at box scores and think you know who a player is, because there are so many routes to a positive box score. So many routes, right? And not all of them are as positive as you think. And Kobe did have 18, 5, and 6, and that looks like a fantastic stat line, or a very good one at least. And it was not bad. It wasn't, he didn't play horrible, but he didn't play quite as well as that 18, 5, and 6 would suggest. Defensively, he was completely bullied by Russell Westbrook, even though Westbrook did get away with an offensive foul on him. And Russell Westbrook is arguably the best post-up guard in the NBA. If there's a better post-up guard in the NBA, I'd have to think about who that is. Maybe DeMar DeRozan. But we're talking about these are the two best post-up guards in the league. They're so physically strong that they just dog people. I mean, that's what the whole where Westbrook got this from, because he generally does baby a lot of guards. And Kobe's still young. He has added some muscle. If you look at Kobe, you can see he's bigger, thicker than he was last year. But he still doesn't have all of that grown man strength that he'll probably get at some point. He's still very much a flailer on defense. And when I say that, if you've been around the game and you understand the game, you know what I mean with that. Flailers on defense are guys who never seem to be on balance on defense. The slightest bump knocks them off of contention. They're not there anymore. And it's just, they look like they play the entire game on defense on their heels and falling out of position to contend. That's where Kobe still is. Some of that is a lack of poise because he's not steadying himself. Some of that is a lack of the IQ on that side of the ball, and some of it is a lack of core strength. And that core strength is something that he has to work on to be able to better hold his position in those times. But you do give somewhat of a pass when that stuff is happening against Russell Westbrook, because he's like that down low. But Daniel Gaffrey got in the game after a DNP coach's decision last game. Wendell Carter played so well, he didn't get in the game, and the Bulls went a little smallish and didn't go to Gaffrey. But Gaffrey came in today, played 7 hard minutes. I thought he did well when he was in there. 3 points, a rebound, a block. I just think the Bulls are better on the interior on defense when he's there. I like Carter. The way he's played in the last 2 games defensively, I was really down on him in those first 2, but I like what I've been seeing from Carter the last 2 games. But even the way Wendell has played the last 2 games, I think Daniel Gafford has a better mind for defense on the inside. And I'll give you a couple plays, and Stacey King pointed out some of these out tonight. Wendell Carter blanks out mentally when it comes to understanding when he should not stay home on defense. This happens on screen and roll. It happens in transition. It happens in semi-transition plays. It happens relatively often. When you see a blown defensive coverage for the Bulls, a lot of times it's Wendell drifting too far away from under the basket when he should maintain his position as the last line of defense, when he should give up guys who are shooters or guys who are just running to the corner just to create spacing, and he gives up the easy dunk. It's almost like it's almost like 2K, right? and I hate to use like a 2K reference in real basketball, but it's almost like 2K. You see guys when you see guys playing Pro-Am and rec and stuff like that in 2K, they prioritize the corner threes and threes from the hash more than like a dunk. Oftentimes, I see it all the time. And in 2K, it's kind of stupid too, but it's not as dumb in real basketball as it is in real basketball. In real basketball, you cannot give up dunks. You just cannot give up dunks because you're running to Isaac Bonga in the corner to cover a 3. Thomas Bryant is a free rim runner straight down the middle. Russell Westbrook has his head up on the right side of the floor. You cannot run to Bonga and let Thomas Bryant run straight down the lane and Westbrook hits him for a 2-hand dunk. That just can't happen. But those kinds of mistakes happen with Wendell Carter a little too often, but not as much with Daniel Gafford. Gafford's programmed to kind of protect that middle, and it's kind of what you want from a big. So I talked a bit about Otto Porter already. I really think he's been playing well. I think that 24 to 28 minute mark, he played 29 minutes tonight. That's good for him. We don't need to see him 32, 34 minutes a night. You're going to see him back on the injured list. I'm telling you, 24 to 28 minutes. And ultimately, as good as Otto Porter's playing, I still think he's got to get traded at the trade deadline. I think somebody said that in the chat already. It's the smart thing to do. As good as he's playing, he's not worth $28 million, even though I know that he'll be a free agent at the end of this season. He's not worth that. He's never going to be worth that. So the Bulls need to try to move him. And as well as he's playing is great for the Bulls. This couldn't be better because he's raising his trade value. And if he continues to play like this, he'll convince some contending team that he might be worth a late first round pick or a second round pick, preferably obviously the first round pick, to get him to rent him for the rest of this season. Because they won't have to pay the entire $28 million because the Bulls will have paid some of it already. And then he comes off the books at the end of the season. He has the perfect look of a guy that can be added for a stretch run for a playoff team. And that's how you pull an extra draft pick out of something like this. Because I think you got to know you're not bringing Otto Porter back next year. And if you did, it would obviously be for far less than $28 million. And if Otto Porter really wants to be a Bull that bad, trading him away to let somebody rent him for a half a season for a playoff run is not going to change that. If he wants to come back and play a bench role with the Bulls, great. But he's coming back to play a bench role for the Bulls at about $12 million a year and not 28. And the 12 might be high. So that's kind of where I am with that. But I really do like the way he's playing. I like the way Chandler Hutchinson is playing. I think Chandler Hutchinson is probably the best off-ball movement guy that the Bulls have on their team, especially among the perimeter guys. He makes very smart cuts to the basket, recognizes situations well, plays really hard on defense, very athletic and springy. He's just got the look of a very good role player. If he was playing on a team that had some killers at point guard, shooting guard, power forward, and center, I could even see him as a starting player, just getting really good at a 3-and-D style game. Chandler Hutchinson could be like a more athletic Bruce Bowen if he can knock down the three, pretty consistently and just continue to just dig in defensively. I think we could be looking at something really good. I don't know why my camera's kind of going out of focus a little bit here. It keeps going in and out. I'm not sure what that's about, but yeah, like the way he played. He only had 2 points, 3 rebounds, but it was the energy in the 6 minutes that he was on the floor. Garrett Temple. Some people might be looking and it's like, man, Garrett Temple played a lot of minutes, 29 minutes. He finished the game on the floor. What was up with that? Well, he did have 12 points, and him and Wendell Carter Jr. had the best plus minus of any player for the Bulls this entire game. It was plus 14. The Bulls played better on both ends of the floor when Garrett Temple was out there. They did, Tomas Satoransky, I thought, played fantastic in 20 minutes. The Bulls just are a better offensive team when he's on the floor. Even if he's out there with Kobe, they're better offensively. He had 10 points, 2 really nice 3-pointers, 2 rebounds, 6 assists. He had 2 steals, real smart and active in the passing lanes. Liked what I saw from Tomas Satoransky for sure. So overall, very strong win, I thought, from the Bulls. I'm going to see, when is this game, the second one against Washington. It is what's today? So it's not till Thursday. So they get a day off, but it's Thursday afternoon at 4 p.m. So I got to make sure that I make note of that, because I'll easily mess around and forget that one and have an issue. Also Golden State got their second win and the second back-to-back win. So now Golden State might be trending in the right direction. So we'll see what happens with that. I just kind of noticed that. I'm interested in seeing what Steph did in that game. Steph had 31, 5 of 9 from 3, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. He did have 8 turnovers, though. He's going to have a lot of turnovers with this team because he feels like he's got to do a lot. Kelly Oubre made his first 3. Look at that. Damian Lee had made 2 more threes. He has 8 now. Blake Griffin did come back. Derrick Rose was back. He missed the game before that. He had 15 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists. Didn't shoot well from the field, but the Pistons are 0-4, so that's not cute. at all. But let's take a look at the chat and see what you guys are talking about today. Somebody said we need to trade Otto at the trade deadline. I absolutely agree with that. I love the effort and energy in the second half. Yes, no $2,000. I don't know. I missed that. I don't know. You got to tell me what you meant on that one. Raiders 7528. I'm missing it. He said Laurie overpowered Thomas Bryant. I think he might have had an edge on Thomas Bryant on one particular situation. I don't know if he overpowered Thomas Bryant. I mean, he scored on him. I don't know if I call him overpowering. Yeah, Laurie is definitely injury prone. Let's see. I think they just need to either trade him or let him go out. Yeah. Trading him right now is not a lot of trade value for him because he's a restricted free agent. So at the end of the season, so you gotta, you know, I don't know. I don't think I want to trade him. I want to keep him and let him play out this season and see what he is, and what he isn't. Laurie needs 2 years, $30 million. I wouldn't have a major problem with 2 years, $30 million, but they have to make a qualifying offer first for Laurie because he is a restricted free agent. So they make the qualifying offer. I have to check what it is. I can't recall what exactly it is for him. But another team will have an opportunity to assign him to an offer sheet, and they can go as high as they want within their salary cap situation. And the Bulls would then have to make a decision whether or not to match that offer. So I don't know. I would venture to guess somebody's going to offer Laurie an offer sheet, and the Bulls will have to make a decision, and their decision will be based on what happens this season. I think he needs to have a really strong season for the Bulls to definitively match whatever offer sheet he gets. So we'll see. But I see a lot of people saying they need to trade Laurie in here today. No, this is not it does not a playoff team hold road, China. It's not. I mean, barring some insane level of consistent improvement from this game forward, I don't think this is a playoff team. I can't imagine how that would be, but I called them a playoff team before the season started, so we'll see. William Duncan says, until we get better on defense, yes, they have to improve on defense. They are improving, but it, has to keep going. D. Jones says, do you think that they're ready if they beat Russ again? D. Jones, everybody has beaten Russ this year. Like, there's no insult to Russ, but the Wizards are 0-4, man. So you get 2 wins over a team that ain't won yet. That don't tell you you're ready for nothing. And he said he's a 48-win team with a healthy Laurie. The Bulls have had a healthy Laurie. No, man, this is not a 48. 48. You talking about 48 wins and an 82? That doesn't even matter. This ain't a 48-win team in a 100-game season. So with a health, no. I think we jumping the gun there. They need vets and leaders. They have some vets and leaders. I think they need a point guard leader. That's what they need. They need a point guard leader. But who would sign up for this train wreck? Let's see. Temple Otto bench duo makes our defense much better. Yes, I like that too. I really, honestly, man, I'm still leaning towards Satoransky should start, and you let Otto and Kobe just light people up off the bench. That's my concept. But Bill Mooney says first dub, let's go for sure. We got Thad Young coming back soon. We definitely going to playoffs with Laurie healthy. Got some. Okay, I see D Jones. You one of the Bulls fans that's gonna say the Bulls gonna win the championship, but they got a chance to win the championship at the beginning of every season. I'm not one of those Bulls guys. I'm one of those brutally realistic kind of people, and I know that my man Nelson would say that's not the case, and some of the other people would say that's not the case. But no, if I say the Bulls are going to do well, it's because that's what I actually see or I think. But if it's not that, then it's not that, And then this is not no. They got a long way to go. Like I said, barring some kind of insane level of improvement, consistent improvement, I don't see it. Zach still want to play too much hero ball instead of being team oriented. Yeah. I think that's a lot of it sometimes. A lot of it, he does definitely get into hero ball a lot. Zach was playing like that because he was up in the game. Otherwise, he just flowing playing. No, man. D Jones, what games do you be watching? I don't know who you. What I ain't sure. Which do you watch the Chicago Bulls or you watching like the Saskatchewan Bulls? Because I don't know what you saw. Because that is not it. That didn't happen. I don't know what this is, but I believe that makes Zach more or less of an all star, especially on a bad team. Uh, yeah, I mean, I, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Much less of an all star. Yeah, I don't know if I don't think the hero ball is preventing Zach from being an all star. I think the team losing is preventing Zach from being an all star, and perhaps him playing hero ball is helping them lose. I wouldn't go that far yet because just overall they have too many other problems to zero in on Zach and say Zach is the problem necessarily. But I say this, Zach is not making himself a part of the solution because he's not making good decisions with the ball too often. And he just really started locking down defensively. So I wouldn't call him the problem, but he's definitely not making himself a part of the solution. Just simply pouring in buckets when you can is not it. That's not the end all be all. And so many people look at the points and they go, "Oh, he had 30." What do you mean? What do you mean? How you gonna blame somebody who got 30 points? Like I got that on Facebook when I posted. I do something on Facebook called the Stud and Dud for every game, and I literally call Zach Levine the dud for the Warriors game. Now a lot of guys played well. And Zach had 33, but the Bulls had 24 turnovers, and he had 7 of them, and he had really bad shot selection down the stretch. I didn't think that was a fan. That's another reason you can't just watch these stats and think that that tells the whole story because it doesn't. You can have 30 points and play a bad game. You can, because you can suck in some of the other places that actually sway the game, that end up superseding what you did from a scoring standpoint. So, we have to keep that in mind. You know, that makes him an all-star, but doesn't make the team better. Yeah, I say trade White, but yeah, I don't know I don't know if I want to trade Kobe. I'm not dead set against it, but I prefer to see him just be a six man first. You know, White didn't have a lot of turnovers today. I think he only had 2. So yeah, that wasn't bad at all. We need another explosive playmaker score at point. It's not White. No, you know what? They don't need an explosive scorer at point. They don't. They don't need that. Like Kobe White's an explosive scorer kind of a player. They don't need that. They need a guy who runs the offense and a guy who can play sound defense and who will knock down an open jump shot and makes good decisions with the ball. They need a point guard who can put pressure on the defense as a scorer, but who looks to run the offense and who looks to set up Zach, who looks to set up Laurie if Laurie is still there, who looks to set up Pat Williams, who looks to set up Wendell Carter Jr. But yes, on my given night, I can go for 20 as well. But that's not my primary focus. That's what they need. They don't need an explosive scorer, playmaker at point. That's essentially what White is trying to be, and that's not what they don't need. Yeah, Daniel Gaffrey definitely was active. He always active on defense. I love the way he plays. Duncan said I would try and start Carter and Gafford for one game. The only problem with that is that it doesn't give you any spacing from an offensive standpoint because you don't have the shooting. Because when you're playing, because Carter's not shooting the 3 well. When you're playing Carter and Gafford, you essentially are playing 3 out, 2 in, and you got to run some level of high-low. And first and foremost, to run high-low, especially in today's game, you need 2 very skilled big men who pass the ball very well. And that is not Gafford and Carter. That's not their game. Just simply throwing 2 bigs on the floor doesn't mean, oh, you're going to get all the rebounds and, oh, you're going to get, these guys can take turns backing down guys and getting to the basket that way. It's not going to work that way. And now you're clogging up the middle for drives, because if you get the ball to Levine or Kobe White on the wing, and you want to get to the basket, well, you're driving the ball dead into a sea of bigs, because neither Gafford nor Carter can be effective away from the basket. So even if they drift out away from the basket to give a driving lane for Zach Levine, their guys don't have to follow them because they can't hurt them from outside. So having two paint cloggers on the floor at the same time for a stretch like that to start, I think you're asking to stagnate your offense, and that's just not the way basketball is played in this era. It is much more about ball movement, setting up spacing, and getting shots, and you can't do it that way. You just yeah. I mean, I can see those guys playing together if you're playing against a team that's going big, and you need to match up. But just flat out starting just off GP, no, I don't think that's a good look at all. But we'll see. I could see Gafford, Carter, Gafford, Porter, Levine, White lineup. I don't know. I think you drastically limit your bench with that as well, because now you're coming off the bench with who's running your offense is being run by Tomas Satoransky, but who off the bench can get their own shot? Not one person off the bench can get their own shot if you go with that lineup, because the two people who you would say are igniters in terms of running an offense or getting an offense off the bench, you put in the starting lineup in Porter and Kobe White. So now you coming off the bench with, once Thad Young is okay, Thad Young, he doesn't get his own offense. Denzel Valentine doesn't really get his own offense. He is a very good ball mover, and he handles the ball good enough, and he's a good shooter, but he doesn't create his own offense. That's not the kind of guy he is. Patrick Williams is not mature enough yet to get his own offense. So now you're going with that. You got Laurie now Laurie's coming off the bench. Laurie isn't a get your own offense guy. He isn't. So I don't know that works. Like I said, I can see somebody going to that lineup maybe at the end of a game to match up, but just to start, I can't see how that works. Hutch is playing pretty bad. Only 3 points, shaking my head. I understand he's a cool defender, but not earning a con. D. Jones, I have no idea how you evaluate basketball. I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, Chandler Hutchinson is not asked to score like that. That's not his thing. So to try to judge Chandler Hutchinson by what his point total was, yes, it's just, I mean, if you watch the games before this, he's played very well in the opportunities that he's getting. So I don't know what I mean. Yeah, he only had 3 points today. But I mean, how many minutes did you check and see how many minutes did he play? I mean, he played. He didn't play. I don't understand. I don't know. I'm telling you, but I have a friend who you and him, y'all would probably agree all day long talking about all sports, because y'all look at it like it sounds like the exact same way. Chandler Hutchinson had 2 points and 3 rebounds in 6 minutes. For a bench player who plays the role that he plays, that is far from a horrible outing. It's far from a horrible outing. And especially you consider I feel he's played well. He's given great effort, very good defender. You say, I understand he's a cool defender. That right there, your phrasing on that comment shows me that you undervalue defense. Because it's like, yeah, he defends and everything, but what about them points? He doesn't have the same standard from an offensive standpoint that Zach Levine has. They're not judged on the same scale. Zach Levine is counted on to score. If Zach doesn't score, he's not doing his job. That's not his job at this point. His job is to defend, to be active, to handle the ball in certain situations, to make good passes. and to help out as a rebounder. When he's doing that, he's playing great. You don't look for Chandler Hutchinson to have 15 points. If he does, that's a fantastic day. Every team has to have role players. And not earning a contract, not earning a max contract, not earning a huge contract, yes, definitely. But not earning the right to even come back, I disagree. I think Patrick Williams is your starting small forward, and I think Chandler Hutchinson is your backup at this point. And I think you move Otto Porter, not because he's not better than either of those guys, but because he's overpaid at this point, and he's older, and he's also proven to be injury prone. Now, that's also Chandler Hutchinson. Now, if that's your criticism of Chandler Hutchinson, I have no argument. Chandler Hutchinson has to stay healthy. He has not proven he can do that for an extended period of time. But when healthy, I've liked what I've seen from him. Thank you, Moises. I appreciate you. Ben says, should Adam Makoka get more minutes, or do you like Hutch? I like Hutch much better than Makoka. I just mentioned that. And the reason is they play similarly, right? But Hutchinson is a better athlete. He's a little longer. And while neither of them are prime time scorers, Hutchinson looks less like a complete offensive liability on the floor than Makoka. When Makoka gets open jump shots, nobody in the building thinks it's going in, especially not him. He's just completely inept at this point as an offensive player. Now, end of the bench roster spot for a guy who, when he comes in, is going to give really good effort, yes, no problem with that at all. But counting on him to be a regular rotation guy at this point in his career. Now, what he becomes down the stretch, different story. But right now, no way. No way. No way. Hutchinson's in all day. Thanks about the Forbes article on MLB 21. Yeah, we're waiting. Everybody's waiting on something concrete for about the show, but all I got is what I gave in that article, so hopefully something comes out pretty soon. He said not a 48-win team in a 300-game season. Thad coming back. Yep, Thad is coming back. I'm looking forward to that. I do think it creates a little bit of a dilemma from a rotational standpoint, like whose minutes does he take? I don't know. He can play the 3 or the 4. I don't know, and maybe he can even play the 5 in certain situations, defensively against certain teams who don't have a huge or big low post threat in center. But I'm interested in seeing whose minutes he takes. That's going to be something. So I don't know what happens there. The Celtics be interested in Otto by trade deadline. I don't know. I think it's too early to know who might be interested in Otto, but I think you want to look at teams whose bench is a little weak. You want to look at teams who are looking for someone to kind of spark a unit, and because that's where Otto kind of is carving a niche right now. So that's where you want to look at suitors, and you look at teams who can absorb that kind of a contract, or who have another expiring deal that they can send back to the Bulls. That's the thing. You need, because there has to be something that matches up that they can send back, because the trade has to match from a money standpoint, and Otto makes a good amount. So those are the key things. Gabriel Hunt says, imagine how better effort on defense would benefit the Bulls. Yeah, better effort. I mean, I think they're giving good effort on defense, so I'll kind of get off of them in terms of the effort standpoint, because I think in the last few games they've definitely shown that. So they just have to continue with that, but they also have to start playing smarter defense. Yep, Padres did get Snell and Darvish. Man, looking good in San Diego, right? But Mooney says we need an Andre Miller style point guard right now. I think Andre Miller approach, but I would like somebody as a better athlete and a little bit more capable of a scorer. I mean, it doesn't have to be Damian Lillard, but I just somebody who's looking to set people up for first and foremost, and then knowing when and where to take his shots. Like I don't think that Russell Westbrook plays a fantastic game in terms of a court game, a floor game. So I think he does make some bad throughout his career. I think he's made like some bad decisions on the floor at times. Gets a little too stat hungry, whether it's hunting assists, hunting rebounds, or whatever it is that he's hunting to attain a certain type of stat line. But tonight, I felt like he played a outstanding floor game, and the way he played tonight is the style of point guard that, from a mentality standpoint, I mean, few guys are going to ever be as physically gifted as Westbrook. Like, the dude does things that, like, I don't know how many other guys ever at point guard could do the stuff that he does. But just from an approach standpoint, that's what the Bulls need. Somebody's not playing above what they are able to do. You see, Westbrook did not shoot the three tonight. He shot one, I believe, and he made that one. But he went looking for the shots that he knew that he could, where he had an advantage. And he looked to set guys up. He hit cutters on several plays today. I think he had 15 assists or something like that. I thought he played as well as he could play. So this loss for them is certainly not on him. But it's that approach that I think they need. What's going on, Raph? Appreciate you coming through, man. Gulezi, yes, I'm very happy. God is blessed. I appreciate it, and I hope you're happy as well. William Duncan says Porter not consistent enough, so it makes sense to start P. Williams. You know, I don't think it's about consistency for Porter, honestly. I don't think Porter's played poorly. I think it makes sense to start Patrick Williams because you have to prioritize development over trying to win these games or put the best five players on the floor at the beginning of the game. Because, as I mentioned before, this is not a contending team. It's not. So the most important thing out of this season, and you can rank these however way you want to rank them, but the most important things out of this season for the Bulls is to find out what you have in Patrick Williams in terms of get an idea of the ceiling, develop him, give him every opportunity to add the tools and get comfortable and add the confidence that he needs, because he very well, and for all intent and purpose, is going to be a focal point of what you do moving forward. That's one of the biggest things. Secondly, you got to find out if Kobe White is really a point guard. If he's not, if he's a six man off the bench, then you have to find out, is that what he brings in that way important enough to your team moving forward to keep him and not put him on and not trade him off. Another thing you have to find out, and these are literally the main focuses of this Bulls team. You have to find out if Lauri Markkanen is for real or not, whether or not that's about injury, whether or not it's about his play, if he's tough enough, whatever. You got to find that out this season, because decision time on him is coming at the end of this year because he's a restricted free agent. You need to know one way or another at the end of this joint what you got with him. Okay? And then the last thing, the biggest thing, and all this stuff comes before winning, of course, in my opinion. Because when I say that, I'm not saying you go out and you try to lose. You go out and you try to win every game, but you don't sacrifice finding the answers to some of these things, trying to win a game, and you're stagnating Patrick Williams' development. You're not finding out if Kobe White is a point guard. You're not finding out if Lauri Markkanen has it because you're trying to win a game in December against the Wizards. No, you have to get these things first. But the last thing is you got to find out if Zach Levine is the real deal. Is he just a 20-something point per game guy who's not going to be a major piece on a winner? Or is he a guy who can literally turn the corner and go from being a scoring, stat-stuffing kind of a guy to a truly elite shooting guard that affects wins and losses? You got to find those four things out. Those four things come before everything. You win as much as you can in the meantime, but those four things are the thing. Those four things are it. You said, how's Billy Donovan coaching been so far? You know, honestly, Joe, I think that the coaching has been pretty decent. I've a couple times I felt like there was a game, I think it was the second game of the season. Kobe White came out hot, hit a couple threes, looked like he was getting some confidence. and he got pulled. And I felt like he should have let him cook a little bit at that point. Um, I don't know that I think that Gafford should have got a DNP, coach's decision. I don't know everything that went on. Maybe something happened in practice. He wasn't giving the right effort. Maybe something else happened. But I don't think that he should have got a DNP coach's decision in the loss to the Warriors. I don't think he played. I'm almost feeling like he didn't play. I'm gonna double check that now. If he did play, he certainly didn't play extended minutes. So I don't. I felt like his effort was some of the most consistent of anybody on the team. And so to me, you don't not play a guy. Yeah, he didn't play. He got a DNP coach's decision against the Warriors. So and I'm kind of I feel like I'm kind of nitpicking, right? Because for the most part, I haven't had a problem. What I've liked how poised he is on the sidelines. He's not freaking out. Stacey King pointed that out today. Um, I like the fact that you can tell he understands that there's a big picture here, right? He's coaching with some level of comfort because he knows that you can tell that there's an agreement and an understanding with his bosses that this is going to take a minute. We have to find out what we have here. And early on, it could be rough while we're trying to figure out which direction and what's going on. And he understands that. So he's not coaching in a panic like it appeared that Jim Boylan was coaching. He's not coaching with that spirit. So I understand. And I also like the fact that you're seeing game to game improvement from young players. That you can't really ask for much more than that from a head coach especially when you're coaching young players. You're seeing literally game to game improvement. First game was dreadful, horrible. The Hawks game was a disgrace, right? The Pacers game almost as bad, but a little bit better. The effort against the Warriors exponentially better. They lost the game, bad break with the officiating and all of that, but exponentially better effort. Wizards game, an even better effort I felt than the Warrior game. So you're watching that. And Billy Donovan even said in his press conference after the Warriors lost, I'm surprised at how quickly and how well they adapted to some stuff that we just worked on. And if you consider the fact that the Warrior game was the second end of a back-to-back after the loss to the Pacers, and yet the team still came out there and exhibited improvement on things that they had just worked on that day. That's pretty good. That's pretty solid. So the last thing I like about Billy Donovan is I love the way that he communicates overall. And I think that you're seeing some representative of it or some exhibition of it when he talks to the media. When Billy talks to the media, it's like he's comfortable enough to talk and just give what's going on. And it's a straight shooting kind of a deal. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. It doesn't come off unprofessional. It doesn't come off any of those things. But he's right there and he's doing it. And you'd have to believe in it from all indications from what his players are saying. This is how he communicates with his players as well. So I think that the Bulls are establishing a very solid culture. But right now we're looking at a lot of stuff that has to be figured out. I felt initially that this change would happen quicker than it is happening, but I underestimated the impact of the pandemic and not having a true training camp. And I also underestimated some of the just really bad habits that some of the young players on the Bulls team already have. So we'll see. We'll see. Fami Maluna, I'm not sure what you're saying. I don't know if that's like a mistype or it's a different language. But I don't know what that is, but I appreciate you watching. Joseph Chisholm, thank you, sir, on the hoodie. This is I'll give y'all a brief explanation about this hoodie. This is another one that the wife made. She's just a beast. She's just awesome. She dope and pretty too, all that stuff. But yeah, Okonkwo is my favorite character from my favorite book. It is the main character from Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. If you have never read that book, I definitely recommend it. I read it in high school in a sociology class. I had a teacher who is still to this day one of the greatest teachers, one of the greatest educators I ever came across. I went to Hyde Park Career Academy in Chicago, and her name was Linda Murray. And Linda Murray is like, that lady don't know the impact that she had on me overall as a young man, and she helped me so much in regards to um, feeling good about myself as a black man. And I can't even, it's hard for me to, to quantify what she, how she helped me. And it was something very simple. We were reading the book, Chanua, The Things Fall Apart, and we were talking about the characters. And Okonkwo was just this super strong man in the village, and he was just, he was the leader of the village. He was big. He was physically big, physically strong, smart, great leader, all of these different things. And I was so into the book, and I was so into the whole message in the book. And she looked at me and she said, "You're a Okonkwo." And that made, I'm telling you, it's the best compliment anybody outside at that time. It was the best compliment anybody outside of my family had ever given me. So I really took to the name Okonkwo. And so I shared the story and stuff with my wife. And so, because she also uh, pours positivity in me at all times, and just heaps on the love and the reinforcement that we need as men. She does that all the time. So hence this shirt is born. And I think that a lot of black men need to see themselves as a Okonkwo, because it definitely helps you improve your self-image. And that's something that black men can definitely struggle with, on a day-to-day basis. So that's the story of the hoodie, and it's cool. I dig it. So let's see what else we got. It said Thad should take White and Carter's minutes. How is Thad Young gonna take Kobe White's minutes, D. Jones? I don't understand. Help me. And D. Jones says, I think we're gonna take the Bucks 7 games. Still a first round exit, but that's definitely improvement. We should keep the core. D. Jones, I think that you are I think you are taking sips of whiskey before you type every message. Like, I literally think you have a shot glass and some wild turkey sitting there, and you just throwing them back and typing, because it is a lot going on out here. What you agree with, Donald? What'd you say? You said great minds think alike. Larry needs to improve 2 things: post game and defense, defense, defense. Absolutely. Billy always say the right things at his press conference. He ain't blew a press conference yet. You said Wendell needs to be put at the power forward. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can see him playing power forward. I can see him playing power forward if you had a true stretch five. If you had a true stretch five, I could see, I could see you playing him at the 4. But you got to, at this point in the NBA, man, you can't have a 4 and a 5 that can't shoot. Not both. If this was the 90s, oh yeah. I mean, Shaq, Horace Grant, and Horace Grant could shoot 15, 17 footer. He was knocking that joint down. But you can't have in 2020, 2021, you cannot have a 4 and a 5 that can't shoot. So if if Wendell's going to the 4, you got to have a 5 who can defend in the low post, but is also a good 3-point shooter. That's the only way you could have it. And I don't think that Wendell is a good enough defender in switches to do that. I don't know. I don't know about that one. Bimuni says, will Denzel ever find his way to the floor consistently? I don't know, man. He just keeps on finding himself in these tough rotational situations, because the guy can play, and when he gets time, he produces. But he got another DNP coach's decision back to back, And I thought he played pretty well against Indiana, but back-to-back DNP coach's decision. I don't know what this guy does. Does he slap somebody at practice? Does he? I don't know what he's doing. Something he's doing that is just keeps putting him on the wrong side of playing time. So I don't know, man. And they brung the guy back because they like him when they let Chris Dunn and Shaq Harrison go. And many people will probably take some sort of issue with the Bulls management early on, because one of the biggest struggles that the Bulls organization has right now is defense. And the Bulls literally let their two best defenders go in Shaq Harrison and Chris Dunn. So again, I don't fault them necessarily for that, because the focus right now is trying to get better for the long run. That's the thing. Nelson, he said, you talking about heartwarming stormers and positivity when I came. I was giving y'all the real, man. This is a variety show to a degree. And so you got a little variety. Let's see. Sweet Joe said, he said Kobe White is a point guard. Y'all. I don't know what D. Jones be over there doing, man. My man over there talking about something. I think Kobe White's a bullfrog. Larry Markkinen got 32 breasts. I mean, he just over there saying whatever, man. He's over there saying whatever. Oh, you Matt Skizzy, you didn't know Nelson Blake is the snarkiest grown man in the whole world? In the world. He's in the whole world, man. My man here, whose name I can't read, he says that he seriously hates this team at times. Yeah, it can be tough. It can be tough, but Luke William Duncan says that he's where's Luke Cornett? He was on the bench cheering. That's what he was doing. I don't have a problem with them not playing Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett can shoot the ball, but yeah, trying to get him to move his feet on defense is a difficult situation. It is what it is. See, hey, Matt Skizzy, I just like that. I like to talk hoop. Not my fault there are still Bulls fans left. You're a horrible human being, Nelson. You're a horrible human being. It's just really horrible. Yeah, D. Jones tripping, man. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, man. I mean, I'm glad to be talking after a Bulls victory. At least that. Talking after a Bulls win is definitely a beautiful thing. So they'll turn around and try to get a second one against the Wizards on Thursday afternoon, really. And hopefully they can get it done, man. Get some momentum, get some confidence going. I know it's just the Wizards, but it is 2 road games. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I don't even know what the road means anymore right now in professional sports with no fans there. We see, if you look at the NFL, I think the last time I checked the stat, which was like a week ago, it was like a week ago, road teams had a winning record for the entire season in the NFL. I think it was like a week ago. I don't know if that maintained it, but it had not having fans there has drastically shifted what home court and home field advantage means. I think we also saw that in the bubble, man. I mean, I thought Milwaukee really, really felt the impact of not actually playing on their home court or not actually playing in front of home fans. So we're going to see what happens, man. But I don't know. I mean, if you look at the Bulls played 3 games at home and stunk up the joint, and they go on the road, have their best effort. Now, that might have been because, they had to play their way out of some certain kinks, but I don't know. We're going to find out, though. I think it does bring him joy when I call him a horrible human, because I keep doing it, and he keeps being a horrible human being. So common sense would tell me I should probably stop that, right? I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and dip out of here, guys. I got 2 more articles to write, and I also still have to work on my NBA 2K21 fictional roster, the ultimate, the unique Mazik Basketball Association. Junior and I are hard at work. We're well over 200 some odd players into this bad boy. And so I'm going to start putting out some videos on that as well as we dip into the fantasy aspect of what's going on. But I appreciate every last one of y'all watching. If you have not yet liked this video, please do so. It helps your boy out tremendously. So please do that if you get a chance. You shouldn't be feeling any joy, Nelson, because I never aimed not an ounce of joy your way. So I appreciate y'all watching.